Meeting for the 14th of January 2025. Great to see so many of you here. I think I know everyone, but just in case I don't, I'm Adam Chope, the Town Clerk. I start from the 1st of October. Just to say that we're going to have to start the meeting. The reason I'm speaking is we have to elect the item of business at the beginning of this meeting. I'm afraid to say that today, this afternoon, I had apologies from the Chair, Councillor Dowling, who can't attend this evening. And Councillor Hudson had already sent apologies, the Vice Chair had already sent apologies for this meeting because he's on his way back from his travels and won't be back till tomorrow. So we need to elect a Chair for this meeting. We need one of our councillors would like to ask if someone would like to volunteer to chair the meeting, and obviously if we have someone interested then they can be proposed and seconded. That's in accordance with the relevant part of our standing orders, by the way, in terms of what people are wondering what we're doing there. This is what our standing orders tell us to do. So I'm sorry about having to do this with no notice, it's just because the apologies came through very late. But I wonder if anyone is prepared to chair the meeting. Thank you.
No, I don't want to make councillor rules. Or in favour then?
Councillor Wills, are you happy to chair?
We will do it.
Are you happy to chair the meeting?
No.
Are you willing to chair the meeting?
May I propose Councillor Smith?
Okay.
Councillor Riddles didn't say no.
He didn't say yes.
He said, well, that's not no.
Not stay with me, Mrs.
If someone else preferred it, would do it at the
Councillor Smith?
Yeah.
Okay, so someone proposed Councillor Smith?
Yeah.
Councillor Lane, secondly Councillor Riddles. Okay, all those in favour, please? Okay, anyone against? And any abstentions? Okay, so Councillor Smith is now chairing this meeting. Thank you very much.
I want to do all these to the front.
Can we have the microphone on, please, Chair, if you wouldn't mind, thank you.
Public notice of the meeting given in accordance with Schedule 12, paragraph 10.2 of Local Act 1972. Apologies for absence.
Yeah, we have apologies from councillors Dalrymple, Harts and also those are the two councillors.
Okay. Will you accept those? Sorry. Proposal. And seconded. And all those in favour?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could we send a note to those who have not attended or not attended and not apologised, advising them of their responsibility to apologise if they don't attend? I'd forward it.
And who are they?
Yeah, I believe we're all here, Constable. I believe we're all here.
I thought we didn't have an apology from Councillor Redfern.
Yes, that.
The invisible man goes.
Mr. Chairman, Jones,
I'm reported to have these checks along with these on the third. Just bear ahead. You want to go all the way.
hope this continues for the rest of the meeting. Declaration of interest, please. I mean, that is
I don't think there's anything. It's not the business first.
Can I just say that there's going to be a presentation about the town hall on the town meeting board and on the working party for the town hall.
Yeah, in that case, Mr. Chair, I'm on the town meeting board as well.
Same as that. Thank you.
okay. Now, go to item number 3, public participation. Standing orders will be suspended for up to 15 minutes to allow questions and statements submitted by members of the public, limited to 3 minutes per person. Are there any statements? Okay, Joyce, yes, you go first.
Good evening everybody, it's Joyce Stanger. I'm informed that once again Rugby Town Council is considering another increase in the precept, and we are having the same conversation as last year. Why was no action taken other than the toilets, the allotments and perhaps even staff wages last year? Most residents in Whitby will not have an allotment or use the public toilets, including me, so what do we get for our money? I was told by the Mayor that the Town Council does not need to submit an annual report to the Town Assembly. So how do we residents know what we are getting and whether we're getting value for money? Why does Whitby Town Council not produce an annual report or have a business or action plan even, which must include the neighbourhood plan? This has to date produced a very valuable piece of work on our housing needs. But we do appear not to be getting very much support from either the Town Council or North Yorkshire Council. Thank you.
Just to say, I'm really grateful to the resident for those points. And obviously I only started here on the 1st of October. But as I've talked a little bit about in my town clerk report, we're going to have we have got some plans in the works that we'll say more about in the future for council meetings. I do want to see how we can do some sort of year-end report to residents, and that will be after this financial year, so basically for the 24-25 year. So we'll do that probably spring, summer 25, about the 24-25 year when it's finished. And also in terms of future planning, I've talked about that in my town clerk report. But basically we'll be working with councillors for some priorities for the rest of this council term, and then for the new council term we do expect to do a business plan on that. Thank you.
Can I just say this was not aimed at the town clerk?
No.
I appreciate
I didn't take it that way, it's fine. It's all good. I just wanted to, I'm happy to have the opportunity to give a bit of an update. Obviously, I'm only 3 months in, so we haven't gone as far as getting a fuller update yet, but as I say, we'll do some sort of summary of what we've done at the end of the 24-25 year, and then the priorities for the rest of the council term. Thank you.
I'll be very brief, councillors. Picking up on a point that the previous speakers just mentioned, I'm informed by North Yorkshire Council that Whitby Town Council is the only council that is charging people to go in the toilets. And in fact, it is the case that everywhere else the toilets are paid through the precept to the county council, the unitary council. So that means that people in Whitby are paying twice. They're paying in their council rates for North Yorkshire and in their precept for the town council. And I'm the one paying for a third time because I'm under medication that makes me require toilet frequently. So I have to pay the 50p as well. This is really not very good, and I would hope the council will look into some way of modifying that situation. The other thing is that I think everyone in the room probably recognises that both the finances and the governance of this council has deteriorated dramatically over the last 5 years, and this is clear from the draft budget and other things in the public domain. So I think that I would like to use a brief word. I've been accused of using long words, and I apologise for that. I was only a school leaver at an early age, and I try not to use big words, so I'm going to use a small one. O-W-N. I understand that the Common Parliament uses this word to mean take responsibility for. And when we see a deterioration of such extremities over such a period of time, somebody has to own this mess. Somebody has to take responsibility for it. Somebody has to not turn up it and possibly should resign. I thank you, councillors.
Agreed. Does anybody else wish to speak? In that case, I will reinstate Stanley Rose. Item 4, external reports.
Thank you, Chair. So Anglo-American have sent their apologies, and we don't have a police representative here. So I think, Chair, we could really go straight to 4C for council update from Councillor Stanley.
I'm just going to take a second to raise it.
Bend your knees, Neil.
Assisted by my colleague, Excellent, thank you very much. Good evening, councillors and all. I'm on my own this evening. Normally I do a double act with Councillor Trumper, as you will know. And unfortunately my sparring partner is otherwise engaged, and he's engaged on something quite important, and that is that he has now been appointed the governor of the new Whitby Secondary School, which means that he now has a meeting, unfortunately, which clashes with this one, couldn't be here tonight. But in his absence, I will endeavour to do what I can to report to you the current issues relating to North Yorkshire Council, on which I represent Whitby Stroke. I note obviously that your major business tonight is the precept for Whitby Town Council. We're at that time of the year when all the discussions are on budgets and talk of how budgets are going to be delivered over the next year, 25-26. North Yorkshire Council is no different. I think I must have been already to about half a dozen meetings in Northampton in recent months, in which various cuts of the budget have been shared with discussion and so on and so forth. Sadly, it's not a very good story. North Yorkshire Council is under considerable pressure financially, to the extent that the cumulative shortfall for this coming year for North Yorkshire Council is currently 28 million, rising to 48 million the following year, and going up to about 80 million the year after.
Fabulous.
Now clearly these are significant figures, and considerable savings are envisaged in order to cushion those deficits, to reduce the amount that has to be taken from reserves. I should bring to your attention the fact that local government reorganisation, the big project to amalgamate the 8 councils into one, has resulted in considerable savings already. And since vesting, which was April 1st, 2023, local government reorganisation has resulted in £39 million worth of savings, and 10 million over that same period from non-local government reorganisation sources. But nonetheless, the figure that looks as though it will be the sort of figure that we can expect over the next 3 years is that there will be a call on reserves for quite a considerable sum. At the moment, the discussions are ongoing as to how that will be achieved.
The problem is that we're not talking about a standing target, because unfortunately the costs of everything go up, and the pressures on the budget are continuing to increase, to the extent that in quarter 2, which is the most recent figure that we have available, there was still a variance of nearly 8 million. That is in the wrong direction for health and adult services, and another 8 million for children and young people services. So there are considerable ongoing pressures in those areas, which then have to be met by savings in most cases elsewhere. So I mean that is being attempted, and in that quarter, 7 million was saved, for example, from resources and central services. But what it means is that there are basically 2 significant departments with considerable deficits, which are increasing quarter by quarter, and they are being offset by, in effect, savings that are being made by other departments. I think the conclusion is by our Treasurer that this year we can sort of scrape through. Next year, again, a little bit more difficult, but by the time we come to 3 years from now, in the third financial year, then things are looking very difficult for the council. And I know that a number of councils, as you will know, have unfortunately found themselves in a very difficult position, and we don't want to go down that road. The current situation is that the settlement from government this year had some pluses and some minuses in it. There are extra funds in some areas, but only a limited amount of funds. The most substantial ones being that on waste, the new legislation on extended producer responsibility, which is about making companies pay for the materials that need to be recycled, which currently are being recycled by local authorities, basically ends up with us receiving 15.5 million in the provisional settlement this year. Equally, there is some subsidy for national insurance costs, because national insurance costs have gone up everywhere, to the tune of about 7 million, but that doesn't meet the overall costs. So those are the pluses, but unfortunately the negatives are that rural services grant, which North Yorkshire Council benefited from quite substantially, being the largest county by area in the UK, and delivering services across that large area, obviously puts considerable pressures on the budget. Unfortunately, that has been withdrawn by the current government, or it has in the initial cut on the settlement. And the emphasis now on the settlement is meeting need, meeting deprivation. But we can all take a view as to whether that is the right priority or not. It seems that has been lacking maybe in recent years. So that's the background to the budget, Mr. Chairman. I suppose in terms of what's in it for Whitby, then there are a few positives which are just give you examples. In the capital budget, there is a sort of capital budget pressures list, and that means that basically these items are being considered for capital projects, and there's quite a significant part in that which allocates funds for Whitby Harbour and Scarborough Harbour. And that potentially means that work can go ahead on some of the long-standing issues that we've called attention to in the past. So things like the sheet piling around the harbour, which desperately needs repairing in some places, is a big sum, and that is within the capital pressures. Harbour's £30 million for a new project. I'll go straight to an issue which a lot of you are concerned about, and that is Whitby cliff lift. And I can always expect a question, and Councillor Trump said to be prepared to answer questions on the cliff lift in his absence. There is a little bit of good news, and that is it is included in a list of capital pressures this year for to the tune of £1 million. But I don't think it's actually been decided as to how that will go forward. What is very clear is that whatever happens, the council has to meet its obligations under the Equalities Act, which allows people with disabilities to be able to get down to the beach just like anybody else and get access to the chalets, which I know this council has a particular interest in. So those are sort of a couple of little bits of good news. But no promises on that, I'm afraid. The other small issue, which I've been banging on about really for the last couple of years, is the state of the flats on Haggersgate. You'll probably know it. It has shops at the bottom, and it's just before you get around to the harbour. It's in a very poor state, and I discovered that actually it's not managed, or it wasn't managed by Scarborough Borough Council Housing Department, it was managed by Scarborough Borough Council Estates Department. The net result was there's been a situation where they just seen it, I think, as an income stream and not something that they have to spend money on. The result is it's got structural problems, and there's some very deprived tenants in there who are in very dire circumstances. So I'm very pleased that there's consideration in this capital budget at Haggersgate will actually get some support. I have to say that in the calculations that have been made about how we can deal with the budget deficit, I think the assumption is generally that the maximum council tax will have to be levied at 4.99%. It's not quite 4.99% straight council tax because 2% of that is for adult social care, but it's still, in the totals, it brings us to 4.99% increase potentially. Now that has to be agreed by executive and then council, and there's a series of meetings coming up which will tackle that particular issue. While I'm on budgets, the other budget that you need to think about is the local police fire and rescue budget. I'll bring your attention to the consultation that is ongoing with the closing date of the 20th of this month. There's a very nice leaflet with a very picture of the charming David Scaife, which I will leave for you on this table in case you want to read more about how you take part in the consultation. And that obviously is something that will progress until we get to the point at which council tax bills are issued after the budget meeting of North Yorkshire Council on Valentine's Day. Great day for a full-day meeting on the budget. Just to pick up on a couple of minor issues before I sit down and take any questions if you have any. I've been working on audit because I sit on the audit committee, and the audit committee has been dealing with the audit trail for the accounts for the 8 authorities that predated the formation of the unitary authority. That has been an extremely labour-intensive job, and as you can imagine, it's now a couple of years down the line. Staff have moved on. People forget details. It's very hard to kind of retrace your steps through these issues so far down the line. But the consequence is that the government, because the audit industry nationally is in such a mess, the big four who do most of the audits for local authorities are struggling to support the amount of work that they've been asked to do. In fact, Deloitte, who have just done the last year of North Yorkshire County Council, have notified the council that they will be doing no more local authority work. There is a consultation by the government at the moment on reorganising audit, but in the meantime what they did was to say that they want to draw a line under all the outstanding audits. There's a huge backlog that there is at the moment, and that has to be done in 2 stages. The first stage is December the 13th, and the next one is the date, I think, in February. and all those legacy accounts and all the accounts that haven't been finished have to be done by them, or else the auditors have to say that in fact they can't give an unqualified position. And that's what's happened in North Yorkshire. So the accounts for all the districts, apart from Ryburn and Selby, have been disclaimed by the auditors. Now that's quite serious, because it means that basically the auditors say we can't tell you what the outcome of this is, and we've got to stand behind it. Scarborough Borough Council is one step worse than that, because the accounts from 2015 onwards have been disclaimed with concerns. And I think we all know the reason for those concerns, and that is because there is an outstanding court case and a decision yet to be made. I look around, and the result of that is still outstanding, and therefore Mazars, the auditors, said that they must put down that they are concerned not just about the outcome of the court case, but about the governance of the way that the audits are conducted. Very, very briefly, progress on the Old Town Hall, and we have Helen and Kerry who are going to talk about that in more detail. Progress also on the Maritime Hub, I'm pleased to say, and a decision is to be taken by executive on the 22nd to sign that off so that work can start on the Maritime Hub ASAP. Two more quick items, and I'm hoping that you forego me on this, Chair, because I'm single-handed today, and I'm sure you've allowed time for Councillor Trumpet to give his report as well. As you're probably aware, North Yorkshire is constructing a local plan, and it has called for sites in April last year, and that was basically asking for recommendations for vacant sites that could be built upon for residential or for employment purposes. And I've been notified that there is now a point at which they're about to go out to consultation on the sites that have been brought forward. And I took a crafty look at the Whitby map, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 sites, and that's including Briggsworth and also Russell. So there's a lot of sites being suggested as sites that will be built on one way or another, and I know there's one particular site of interest to Councillor Abbott, which is probably going to come into the consultation very shortly. Last point, and that is that we've been notified, and the Town Council has been notified, that there will be a refurbishment of street lighting across North Yorkshire starting this year. Long overdue, I think, in many cases. Its plan is to convert existing lighting to LED, which is more economical and less carbon emissions, and also, and this is quite interesting, to widen the scope of what they call part night lighting. That means that the lights will only be on for some part of the night. Now that's not going to be everywhere, but where it is going to be, it means that they're saying about 50% of the former district and borough council streetlights will be changed to part night lighting. And that means that they will switch on at dusk and off at midnight, and then on again at 5 o'clock in the morning. And this will be a huge saving in electricity. It will cover the cost of the conversion, £20 to £30 each column within 3 years. But those with high nighttime activity, such as town centres, areas experiencing high crime and antisocial behaviour, and areas which suffer or have suffered from nighttime road traffic accidents, or interestingly, areas where road humps or other traffic calming measures are used and speed limits are 30 miles an hour or over. But we'll have to see how that proposal moves forward. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions.
Just a question about the street lighting. So there's LED street lighting on New Key Road. It's on one side of the road and it's absolutely still pitch black on there. There's no street lighting on the harbour side.
You couldn't get any of that.
Yeah. So there's no street lighting on the harbour side. It's absolutely pitch black. And the LED light on where Weatherspoons are and not on there, it's inadequate. So if this is how it's going to be all over, it's just might be saving something, but I'm sure in the long run there's going to be accidents. It's too dark.
Too
Can we
dark.
answer each individual one or wait until the
I think it was every two and individual.
Okay. Well, I think as you know, Councillor, while you and I have been, I think I'm going to use the word again, banging on about those lights on New Key Road for some time. And the taxi drivers have been in my ear constantly. They're expected to pick up passengers in the winter in total darkness. They don't know who they're picking up, they can't handle change, etc. All those issues, and I have put those to the relevant officers, and the answer is that apparently those street lights have dodgy foundations because they're on the harbour. There's nothing much underneath them, and they can't actually replace them without doing something permanent. And they say that they will incorporate a change of those lights at the point at which the whole harbour development for down here, which are planned to be starting nowish, will happen. As far as the general point about LED is concerned, I mean, the idea is, I think, to make lighting such that it concentrates on activity at ground level rather than wasting energy up into the skies or, in fact, causing problems of white nights which are not good for environmentalists.
Thank you.
Hello, Liam. Two things, please. First of all, I spoke to you some time ago about the road leading up past Enterprise Way up towards Scarborough, particularly past, is it Summerfield Garage? The traffic was far, far too fast up and down there. It's extremely dangerous.
I think I agreed with you at the time.
Yes.
But said I was uncertain as to how we could actually move forward on that. Obviously, there's signage and so on. Or putting in engineering alterations to the road, things like road bumps and so on.
I don't think there are any speed signs going past Summerfield Garage. I don't think there are any. I mean, I don't know which is faster, the ones coming into town or the ones going out of town, but it's really bad, really bad. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is, can you tell me what's happening about Danger Bank? I haven't had any update recently about the state of the road on Danger Bank. I know some of it's fallen away, hasn't it?
Yes, I did carry out a site visit with one of the parish councillors from Russet to look at
It's Alpha 9.
Sorry?
Oh, it's Alpha 9.
Right. We hadn't had a look at it because I was like you, I wasn't quite sure what the state of it was. What I did know was there's been a sign which says you can't go any further.
That's right.
Roughly when you get past the turn off for the Captain Cook cottages and the developments on the left. My understanding is that as it stands, you can't get a car past it still.
Right.
But you can get a car up to it, and you can get past it on foot, on a bicycle, or on a horse, should you wish to ride a horse down there. As you say, the bank has collapsed in two places. It needs substantial engineering work. When I asked officers for an update on that, what they told me was it is a priority to get it open again properly, but they're bidding for funds in order to do that, and there's competition for those funds. I think there's several banks roads across North Yorkshire, and one in particular, sort of at the far end, is sort of Skipton area, which is in a very bad state and has cost millions. So, I mean, we're competing, unfortunately. I think we're victims, like everybody else, of changing weather patterns, extreme weather conditions, and climate change. But I will keep on that, because I know that the people in the West are very concerned. It limits their options, especially in the roads and
Thank you very much.
Councillor George, come in on
Very much, the lighting you're going to turn on. There was a survey done some years ago by Nottingham University, and they emphasised that the brighter the streets, the safer the streets. And the costing of them is less money for crime prevention, because the neighbours, when the bright lights on the street, I read the article, when the bright lights on the street, behind the lights, where the houses are, the neighbours keep an eye on the street because they can hear everything, and it doesn't affect the neighbours being found out that they're the ones that are bringing the police. And the thing is, we're getting to a stage now where protecting, I'm going to be rude here, protecting our young girls from gang rapes is not on. And we need street lighting to protect the young girls in this town and in North York. And the thing is, we've got to start doing something about it.
Young boys too.
Putting lights out isn't the answer.
Well, I'm not aware of any problem with gang rapes in this town as it happens, but I think you're right that we should be cautious and people should be protected, and street lighting is important, especially in urban areas. And I'm pleased to say that that was on my list of areas that would be exempted, was those areas with high nighttime security, such as town centres, so that would cover our town centre as far as I can see. Areas which experiencing high crime and antisocial behaviour, which I don't think it does, but if it became so, then I think there's a good case for saying switching back on it.
Thank you.
Two points. One, talking about lights. There are two sets of lights, one in Skinner Street and one in Cloudgate, that have returned Christmas lights, coloured lights that run all year round. Why is that the case? And they've been on all the time for years. Are they Christmas lights or
Are they coloured lights? I can't place
oh, they are crossing the road from one side to the other, red, green, blue, and they're on permanently.
Yeah. I don't know the answer.
Well, what you're trying to save money, well, there's one set of lights you could turn off, which I'm sure there must be thousands of light bulbs there, which could save a lot of money if people would actually just go around and actually look, you know, and investigate where.
I'm not sure why they're there particularly. There are some lights on the Church Street side of the harbour as well, which seem to be on during the year. I think there's generally a case to say that pretty lights enhance the town and make it sort of more welcoming to people. But I don't know whether that offsets the cost. I mean, we'd have to have a look at that. But I think we need to find out who's actually paying for those lights and how often they're on. I would refer to my colleague Councillor Trump at this point, because he is our lights specialist and some principles up the Christmas lights, or overseas looking at the Christmas lights on a regular basis. But he's not. But I will find out for you.
And the second point, concerning the maritime hub, you said that it's going to be a meeting 21st, whatever, and there was sort of to get on ASAP to building it. Well, as far as I know, can you confirm that there are no tenants yet who would sign up for that? So the council say, North Yorkshire Council is saying that they need 80% just to break even, and I believe it's working about maybe getting CAC organisation to take on the running of it. But without any tenants, surely it can't go ahead.
I think your point was made very forcefully by the borough, not the borough treasurer, the county treasurer, who said that he would be unhappy approving the start of work on this until there were tenants in place. And I have to say that I'm pleased to hear that they now do have some tenants now. I think the process of the contractual processes means that I'm not in a position to know or to tell you, but I'm giving on good authority that there is at least one substantial tenant who is involved in maritime and training areas, and there is more than one other tenant who is currently under negotiation. So I think that that box has been ticked, Councillor.
Well, that's it. So it says, the contract says that you have to have it fully before you can start building, not one or two. The whole lot got to be fully.
Well,
that was part of the plan.
It's not my job to go through the
Can you investigate? No.
But I mean, that is certainly the position of the Treasurer as well. And so, although the money is coming from town deal money, it's not coming, there may be some, I don't know, but most of it is coming from the town deal money. Nonetheless, the council has a duty of responsibility to make sure that the project is viable, and it was on that basis that the Treasury insisted that they had sufficient tenants guarantee to support the expenses of the building going into the future.
Thank you. Councillor McVie, we've got a question. I'd like to bring this to a close, Bill.
Thank you, Chair. Neil, at the last meeting of full council on the 5th of November, it was reported to Councillor Trumper that County Councillor David Chance had said that he suspected that there was an ancient bylaw that prohibited the launching of jet skis on the slip of the ravine. Now, given that the ravine is only about 40 years old and jet skis are newer than that, I don't quite see how it can be an ancient bylaw, but those are the words he used. I did ask the Trumper to investigate that and report back to the clerk so that he could disseminate information to all councillors, and we've yet to receive that. And going back about a year, it was mentioned again to Phil that we have herbage and verbiage growing in several thousand yards of gutters around the town, and it's getting to be quite embarrassing. Could you put those points to him again, please, and ask him if we can have some positive action on them?
I'll certainly pass your message on, Councillor.
That's all I ask.
Okay,
thank you.
Just a clarification, the gutterage is where? That's the foliage is growing out of the gutters.
On the curves, just between the curve and the edge of the road.
The same place on the Esplanade?
No, all over, thousands and thousands of yards, it's all over town.
All over town, okay. And this is to do with weed killers and so on.
Do what?
Spraying with weed killers.
No, it needs more than that, frankly. It is going over with a spade, several spades. Very sharp ones.
I'll certainly pass that question back to Councillor Trump, see if he's got anywhere with his investigation.
Thank you.
If there's nobody else with questions, I'd like to thank you, Councillor Swanfield, long and detailed report.
Thank you very much.
I was not criticising, this is a thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, I'm delighted that Kerry Levitt and Helen Jackson are here from North Yorkshire Council to cover item 4D, an update on the Old Town Hall project. Kerry's been helpful enough to also provide a project briefing note that has now been circulated. So if each councillor could take one and pass that on, that would be really helpful. Thank you very much. Welcome, Kerry.
Good afternoon, Chair, councillors. I'm not sure if I need this. Can you hear me speaking clearly enough without it? I'm not sure if I'm supposed to talk into it. You can hear me. So yes, we did prepare a presentation as well. Obviously, we don't have any presentation equipment, but then a briefing note which obviously expands on the presentation anyway. So first I'm just going to run through a bit of the project background. So I appreciate that there are obviously new councillors within the town council that maybe don't know some of the background, because this project has been going since 2019. So that was when the project steering group was first established, a result of the weekly market review that was carried out. Decisions were taken to investigate how we could secure funding to improve the marketplace and renovate the old town hall building. As a result of establishing that steering group, we initially secured an architectural heritage fund grant for £15,000 in early 2020, which allowed us to carry out early development work and condition surveys, etc. for the building. Following that, it was then subsequently included in the town investment plan for Whitby. So the town's fund was announced in 2020, and then we received confirmation from MHCLG that the Old Town Hall was successfully secured in a £1 million grant from the town's fund towards the project, and it was one of the 6 priority projects that was chosen for delivery through the Whitby Town Bill Board. We were then able, with that grant funding, to carry out further development work on the project, and we undertook an engagement exercise in May 2022 on the designs that we had developed. As a result of that engagement feedback, the designs were amended, so some of you may be familiar that originally we proposed that the full marketplace would be landscaped and there was a second platform within the marketplace at the bottom, but as a result of the engagement feedback, the project team decided to remove that second platform from the plans.
Nobody wanted it.
Following that, we then sought pre-planning advice. So at that time, the glazing proposals were still a part of the project. So we sought pre-planning advice, and they were objected to by Historic England, the Georgian Society, and again, obviously, lots of stakeholders objected to their glazing proposals. So therefore, the council and the project team agreed to withdraw the application for the glazing for the Old Town Hall building. Planning approval was eventually received in July 2023 for the project. So that's just basically the brief background. So planning was received July 23. So following that, the designs were then taken to detailed design, and then we started the tender process back in December 2023. So the tender process has taken us quite some time. So we initially issued an expression of interest to the market in December 2023, and then the full tender was then issued early in 2024 with an initial closing date of May 2024. Unfortunately, the tenders came back and they were over budget. Therefore, the project had to look at value engineering. And as a result of a request from the Whitby Town Deal Board at its June meeting, they asked the project team to consider the proposed plinth within the marketplace as part of our value engineering exercise. So it was taken back to the project team, and again it was agreed that we would remove the plinth and just remove that and just have the steps in front of the Old Town Hall from the undercroft down into the marketplace. So again, we had to update the designs and reissue a tender addendum, which then had a revised closing date of October 2024. Unfortunately, the tenders still came back over budget, but we managed to secure match funding from North Yorkshire Council of 126k, and then we received approval to appoint the contractor in November 2024, and that is Simpsons of York. So Simpsons of York have been appointed. They are currently in mobilisation period. So we've got our initial pre-start meeting tomorrow, And it's at that pre-start meeting where obviously things like the works programme, the construction management plan, health and safety requirements, the impact for residents and businesses on the marketplace will be confirmed and considered at that meeting. And we've already emailed stakeholders and advised that as soon as we've had that pre-start meeting, we will be able to confirm the plans to them for the work. So unfortunately it's a bit of bad timing that this meeting happens the day before that meeting. So unfortunately at the moment there's nothing being confirmed for the construction works and the programme. So that's basically it in a very brief way. So yeah, just happy to take any comments, any questions. I'll try and answer what I can here. Anything that I can't answer I can take back to the architects team or the construction company and feedback answers from them.
Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously I'm part of the town deal board, but just for the benefit of everyone else. The Made in Yorkshire tent, I presume all their dates have now been reorganised so that they don't conflict with Whitby market traders who will be moving on to the dock end.
So obviously the market superintendent has been dealing with the market relocation. So yeah, sorry I didn't mention the market relocation. So plans have been made for market traders to relocate to dock end and Key Road while the work's taking place. So Penny has been liaising very closely with tourism services with the Made in Yorkshire Festival, and the plan is for them to work in conjunction. So when both markets are on, they will both work together. I'm not sure what the dates are for that, so I'm not involved. In terms of the day-to-day market operations, I'm not involved with them, so I would have to get actual final plans from I would say the market superintendent with regards to dates, but I know they are working on that.
Thank you.
Councillor Warren.
Just following on from Councillor Turner, so are you saying, Kerry, that Made in Yorkshire will be coming on the same dates that the market is there?
I believe there might be a potential clash, yes.
Why is that though? Why is that though? Because the market that's next to the town hall is priority. So why are they having to share with Made in Yorkshire? I mean, we knew this was coming for 4 years.
Obviously, Made in Yorkshire is part of it's our tourism services that put on the Made in Yorkshire Festival. So it's believed that there is enough room for both markets to work together within Dock End and Key Road, and they believe that they can do that successfully.
How many times are they coming in the year? You know,
I wouldn't know Made in Yorkshire. As I say, it's not our service area. So I know the market superintendent is liaising with them in terms of dates and how it will all work. So again, I'll just bring back the dates and check with that. Thank you.
Councillor.
Yes, thank you, Chair. A couple of questions regarding what you just said. Is we have been the market traders in the Yorkshire people going on the dock end. So that means they'll be fighting for us. But what are we going to look after? Our shopkeepers, our people, who's going to look after them? They won't go down there. And they're not going to get any business because everybody's down at the dock end. And the other thing, when you start doing the Church Street, are you closing Church Street off altogether? Or are you going to, or will the traders or the people be able to make a living down there with all this work going?
Okay. No, there's no plans to close Church Street. There's never been any plans to close Church Street. There was potential that we may need to close the side of the town hall that comes down adjacent past Monkshaven on the corner. However, early discussions with contractors, we are aiming to actually leave that open as well. So we are working with Sky Scaffolding that are going to be doing the scaffold for the Old Town Hall, and they are working on the design for the scaffold that potentially leaves the side of the Old Town Hall open. Church Street was never going to be closed, it was just the potential side. In terms of the business on the marketplace, we do acknowledge that it is going to have a big impact. It is a constrained site, And for health and safety reasons, we do have to have a compound around the old town hall and marketplace while works are carried out. The contractors do need to have welfare facilities for their workers, etc. So as soon as we've had our pre-start meeting, and as I say, we know fully what the plans are, we will relay them to the businesses, we'll hold meetings and conversations with them, and we'll do everything that we can to make sure that the impact on their businesses is reduced as much as possible. And yeah, we'll do what we can.
The other thing is, you've got the town hall scaffolded up. Have you got will there be a safety officer down there all the time, keeping an eye on making sure that this is a safe environment, because there's a lot of people going down there, and we don't want any incidents happening down there.
Yeah, so there is the construction company will have a health and safety officer. I don't envisage that they will be on site 24/7, no. But I trust, as I've already said, it's Simpson. They are a very experienced contractor. They've worked on a lot of historic buildings, listed buildings, constrained sites, difficult to access projects. So their construction management plan has to be approved, their health and safety plan has to be approved, but I trust that they will put sufficient health and safety mitigations in place to ensure that that site is not a danger to members of the public.
So you personally will be overseeing all this, okay?
It's a line, property partners that are actually the project manager and the supervisors for the project. I am the client acting on behalf of North Yorkshire Council, but we use a line, and then we have Simpsons as the principal contractor.
Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor.
There's concern about the market traders actually setting up their stores and everything on Dock End, because no vehicles, for safety reasons, are allowed on Dock End because of the Yorkshire Water Authority, the shaft in the tunnel from there. How are the market traders going to set up and from where?
So market traders have been are going to set up from Endeavour Wharf. So they will use Endeavour Wharf and then the pedestrian gate access at the side of the Scardo Lounge to come on to Dock End. There are 2 or 3 traders that also have a blue badge permit, which allows them to be able to pull into the disabled parking, provided it's free, of course. And they will be able to unload and load from that day as well, using their blue badges. But primarily it's from Endeavour Wharf and pedestrian access gate.
You're guaranteeing that no vehicle will be allowed on?
They've been instructed, we have instructed that no vehicles will be allowed. Obviously the market superintendent will oversee the market trading days as they do currently at the marketplace, and they will obviously warn and we'll give written notice if we need to, but it's to be hoped that market traders do listen to the instruction and won't drive onto Dock End.
Thank you.
If there's something else, thank you very much, Carrie, and your colleague for attending tonight.
Thank you, Carrie. It's been fantastic.
Yes, after 5 minutes, we've got to approve an accurate record the minutes of the following meetings. We've got full council on the 22nd, full council on the 5th and the 26th of November. Would you wish to take these a block? Propose please to take these a block. Seconder.
Voting through situations that they know nothing about. Is everybody aware that when you take them on block to agree, because there's been so much infighting and carrying on about people voting minutes and saying the situation isn't as it should be, so should we be taking minutes on block? Should people be having the opportunity to make any comment about minutes?
I mean, I'm only proposing it for 1, 2 and 3, not, that's on A, not on B. Just 1, 2 and 3 on A.
Thank you, Chair. I think that, given the point raised, I see no problem with us taking each set of...
Yeah, I'm very happy with that.
I mean, one presumes everyone's read their papers, so if you've got any questions, we'll be ready with those questions. If there's no questions, we just go through the minute and accept them.
Okay. Yes. Right.
Yeah, I'm not going to get concerned about it. I don't see how I can prove exactly that it's a meeting of not meeting.
No, yes, I was second, and I was also meeting that, and I read them tonight. That's why I accepted the so it's about a different thing as to the system. I was about being meeting, that's why I
Can't hear. Can't hear. Nobody here.
So shall we proceed to this first
So how much the 10th person is that on what level to do with individual?
So much for that 50,000 budget fund for microphones.
Full council on the 22nd of October.
Motion.
Councillor Knott.
Yes, proposed.
All in favour? Number 2, full council on the 5th of November. Yes.
Observation on this, Mr. Chairman.
Certainly.
Minute 20124, I suggest that the minutes should say what the £1.3 million refers to, and to whom should the question be asked by this council.
So, what number is that, Joe?
20124.
Okay, so Councillor Norton, what was your amendment? Sorry, can I say it again? I'll put it in the...
I suggest that the minutes should say what £1.3 million, what does it refer to, and to whom the question should be directed by this council.
I would second that, Chair. For anyone reading the minutes, it's very confusing what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like Francine.
Yeah.
That's why I asked it, Chair.
All those in favour? Thank you. And all those in favour of accepting the minutes then? Who's, I thought that was for the amendment.
No, it isn't an amendment. It is a comment, and I presume, having made a comment, that research will be done by the clerk, who will let us all know in due course what his final result.
Is the town clerk got a comment from Ed on that? Are we passing that and you can answer it later in the meeting?
I'd go for a fibre one or something going in.
Okay, we did circulate the
Yeah,
result.
as far as I understand.
It's in, that's fine.
Excuse me.
On 20224, on C, it refers to boy races. Well, that was an incorrect term. The police don't allow the term boy races, ASD, antisocial behaviour. It's mentioned twice in the minutes.
just see if there are any more comments or questions on the chair.
If anyone aren't any more points or notes, we go to receiving. Second. In favour? And then we go to the minutes of the full council on the 26th of November.
Just one comment on the co-option. How are we going to implement that co-option?
I've covered that in my time card report.
Okay, okay.
Councillor.
On the minutes of the extraordinary meeting, there's a number of the items are referenced. Is that right? Very good.
Yeah, we need to-
/24.
We need to add the motion numbers. They'll be added to the final version that's signed.
Second that.
Those in favour? Okay, we come to receive the draft minutes of the following committee meetings. Number 1, Finance for General Purposes, 8th of October.
Receive and share.
Receive. Those in favour?
Sorry, I'm struggling to pick up what you're saying.
Sorry, we're now going to receive these individual minutes as draft.
What we are now, Councillor Gallagher, Chair.
So we see the votes on the finance for policy and general.
Yeah.
All in favour?
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah, okay.
This is just received.
Yeah.
Why is it not to not their accuracy?
That's done by the committee that comes from.
Right?
The committee that prepares the minutes is responsible for making sure that they're correct. So at each committee meeting, the committee approves the minutes of the previous committee meeting. The full council knows that.
How's that democratic?
So can members of this committee come on the second member?
Yes.
If so, if you think there's something wrong where you've got one, you can
Yeah.
then is that you bring it up now?
I would say yes to both of those councillors.
If it's a mistake in the minutes, but not if it's about a procedural decision, surely. Are you saying it's a mistake in the minutes, Councillor?
No, I just that if someone wants to bring a point up, I was just clarifying that there can be a point up when we receive the minutes. I mean, there is one that I was a bit worried about with Danco, that I put in a report for various repairs. I would like to know that those repairs are going to get carried out because they were just myself and Jackie went round and they were just general repairs that should be done as and when they happened. London's a big backlog now. You know, how are you going to get on with it?
We'll cover that in the item on the agenda regarding Downflow. Downflow did write, within the report you've seen, that Downflow record the repairs that they've been doing.
Okay.
So we can discuss more on that later if you wish.
Right, I think we're now going to receive the town development and improvements on the 29th of October.
Just one or two questions on town development. It says that just things that I want to raise for in hand or being good. Signs on Silver Street, in the wider area. That public call for crossing on Castle Road. I don't think the well-born maintenance is important because of that. Expert Eddie is coming up and saying that the whalebones are in a bad state of repair, and if we don't watch out with them, we're going to lose them. And that's the feature of the town. It is an important. And so, has anything been done about that? The old manholes on at the side of Boyce's, I don't know whether that's been done. See, all these things are down, and this is the good point that they've been brought back up in front of the council. We want to know when they're going to be done. If they've been sent and the authorities in North Yorkshire are going to do something about it. That's what we want to know.
Okay, the point is taken, Councillor, but as I say, this is where things can get a little bit confusing procedurally, for me included perhaps, because obviously for each of the committee meetings, where the minutes are considered, then any action being taken as a result of those minutes are then considered at the following meeting with the council. And obviously this council doesn't see those minutes until the next meeting, if that makes sense. So at the Town Development Improvement Committee, a comprehensive update was given on all of the actions raised at the previous meeting. You can't see that yet, you haven't got those minutes yet. So I understand the question, but the answers are in track, if that makes sense.
The only problem I have with that is that it takes everything down the road, doesn't it? If there's something wrong or someone wants to ask something about, like ours was just about the lane zones, well, it would be go back to the committee, then it goes back to the next full council, which is brought up again, and then it might be to go back again. And we're just dragging things on rather than actually getting action.
With respect, as the staff member who's doing all of this work, we've worked incredibly hard to report back to the committee on all of those items. And I'm not quite sure, there's a sort of, within your question, there's a bit of a kind of, we're not doing it, which I don't think is fair.
No, that's not what I'm saying, I'm just saying.
We follow due process as a council, so the full council has asked us, created this committee to do these pieces of work. The minutes come to full council's inherent committee, so full council can see what the minutes say. But in terms of the actions taken, that would then take place within the committee. As is
down the road.
Those in favour? To receive the planning and licensing on the 29th of October.
Can I just say the 29th of October, if you notice the numbers down the side, there are damage. So it's all just blank 24. And the final point, that's not what we resolved. We resolved that the appeal information is received, full stop. So there are no number references down the side.
Okay, so the October, yes. So again, the motion numbers have got to be added. Okay, we've got that. And then there was the last one, what was
The last point was resolved that the appeal information is received, and we didn't actually go on to say that the planning committee or Yorkshire Council decision to refuse. We initially did, but they had changed their plans so much that we obviously didn't have a chance to go through them properly.
So we'll have to correct that.
Anything else? Proposal?
That's what I was proposing, Chair.
Those in favour? Thank you. For planning and licensing on the 12th of November. Do we receive this? And favour? Thank you all. And the final one, the 5 Plant Art Gallery on the 19th and 19th. Anybody wish to? Yeah. Seconded. Those in favour? Thank you. Moving on then to number 6, Town Clerk's Report.
Thank you very much, Chair. I hope everyone's had the opportunity to read the report. I'm very conscious that we have a very significant amount of agenda items to cover this evening, so I'm not going to take up any more time than necessary on this item this evening. I hope in future meetings I can say a bit more in the meetings about my town clerk report as well. But clearly this evening there won't be time for that. But I did want to say one important thing, one further update, which is that to confirm that Anne Cohen, who's our Deputy Town Clerk, has now formally stated her intention to retire. So she will be retiring in April 2025 after 32 years of amazing and significant service to this council. I'm sure we're going to recognise that service when the time comes. So what's happening is that I'm going to be liaising with the chair of the HR committee, and we're convening an HR committee meeting to consider next steps in relation to staffing in the light of this retirement announcement. And obviously then any recommendation that will come forward to council. Essentially what that looks like is that we can take a little bit of time in January determining what we think should happen next, confirm that, recruit February, appoint March, and then obviously it depends on the notice period the person will start. We may need to also confirm some transitional arrangements for a period in April and May if someone's on the notice period until they're able to start. So we say, well, we'll take all that to the HR committee, which is the due process of the council, and things will proceed from there, but I'm able to confirm that news. It's just formal. Otherwise, happy to hand back to you, Chair, for any questions or comments. Thank you.
On item 6, Mr. Clark, in your report, concerns the available plan. When is this council going to see a document from the subcommittee that you can read to do with the introduction of the available plan?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Obviously, when it reaches the due part in the process, then things will come to council when that's due to happen.
But it's been going on for over a year now, we still haven't got a document that we can look at. And personally, I find that a little bit disturbing, particularly as this council has already given £5,000 towards its development.
So that's noted, and we'll also make sure that there's a more comprehensive update for council at each meeting on available plan council. I'm happy to make sure that happens.
Thank you. I recall that at a meeting in November, it was revealed that the accounts for Planet Park were late in being delivered. Has that now been corrected? But we were 3 years late at one stage.
My understanding is that that the panic part accounts for the latest year were submitted, and the latest year accounts are being audited at the moment, so they can be submitted as soon as possible. Councillor proposed, Chair. Second. Councillor Redfern, second.
Was it done?
We're voting to receive the report. Okay, that's passed.
Okay, and then we'll move on to item 7, which is the Town Council budget.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to, before we start, with my introduction, obviously during this item, the councils have got a draft report in front of you, plus suggest amendments. So the purpose of this session is for councillors to raise any queries or amendments to the proposed budget, so that then the necessary votes can be taken to pass the budget with any amendments. Okay, that's what we're going to do next. I have prepared one more sheet of paper for you, which has been circulated now. This is a summary of the position, a further clarification and summary of the position relating to the reserves. So I'm going to, Councillor, if you don't mind taking one and passing it on, and then when everybody's got one, I'll quickly go through this, just to make sure we're absolutely clear what's happening with the reserves for all councillors. And then, as I say, from there, through the chair, we'll take any questions or amendments relating to the budget, so many budget can be passed. Thank you, Chair. We'll just wait. Just take this go around, and then I'll talk about it. So, AGAR balance. So you'll be aware from the full council on 30th of June. At that point, the estimated reserves position, as shown on the AGAR statement, for the 31st of March 2025 was 32,404. Obviously, a very low figure for the turnover that we had and the size of council that we are. And you're aware that audit advice and other recommendations would be to increase that figure significantly over time. As we know, that was discussed at the Finance Purpose and General Policy Committee, and Council wanted to make sure that there's a level of reserves increase this year that feels affordable and reasonable within the context of the precept increase, but also understanding reserves do need to increase over time. Within the budget report, there are two parts of increasing reserves. There's what we call free reserves increase to 39,670. Your free reserves is basically your spare funds, okay? And you need that, basically, it's rainy day money, it's because something goes wrong money, and you also need it, for example, if the worst was ever to happen, and the council was closed or didn't exist anymore, you need to make sure you can pay all the staff, pay all your debts, etc., pension liabilities, etc. at that point. So you do need to have what's called a free reserve to cover yourself for the worst. Also, within the budget report, there's £27,000 of suggested increase in what's called earmark reserves, and those reserves that are for specific things. And that again is explained within the main report. That would take the reserves total up to £99,021, which is still significantly below the recommendation, but obviously higher than 32,000. I'm grateful to Councillor Smith, who copied everybody in to the email exchange we've had about this. So I hope you've had a chance to see that. She's pointed out that we could actually sensibly say that some of the items we put into the budget, the draft budget for next year, which is the cost we'll bear for the audit objections, the cost of running additional elections, and also running running our events and mayor costs could be treated as contingencies, basically. So contingency funds, and therefore effectively be earmarked reserves within the budget. I hope that will make sense. So if we treated the audit, the potential audit costs, potential election costs, and potential events costs as earmarked reserves, that would then increase reserves to £137,021. Hope I've explained that okay. Have any questions? Has Mary got a hand?
I would accept the statement you just made about the audit election mayoral events being reserved if they were events that had not happened on a frequent basis.
Yes.
But as they have been happening on a frequent basis,
Yes.
and they show no sign of stopping happening on a frequent basis, I cannot see how you could include those as reserves. You have to expect that position to continue, and therefore they are not reserves.
Okay. I hear that. Councillor, would you like to come back?
Could I just answer that? It was my proposal because it's my belief that the Armed Forces Day and events could be made self-financing the same way as we make the Christmas festivals self-financing, i.e. we could organise a sponsorship and people could advance for them. And on that basis, yes, we need to get £2,000 in order to service those events should we fail, but we should really be in a position to look for that money so that they become self-supporting, they aren't a draw on increase out year after year after year. And that's why I suggested that yes, we kept that money in the budget, but we put it in as a reserve. And then to look for sponsorship or grants or something to put those two events on the same footing as we have the Christmas festival on putting on.
I think that, Chair, is a presupposition that we are going to make those two events cost neutral. I think Councillor Brown's suggestion is the best. We should include their funding within the budget whilst trying to make them cost neutral. And if we succeed in doing that, then there will be a surplus at the end of the year which can then be transferred into the reserves. I think we have to make a provision for them.
Okay, I think that's really helpful, councillors, and I'm grateful to everyone for their contributions. As I said, I'm happy at this stage to stick the reserves at the 99,000 figure on the basis to say that we know we will be spending money on the audit objections and very likely to spend money on elections next year. And the events to say it's more of an aspirational thing, so business may not be the most appropriate route, but I'm really grateful to Councillor for surfacing these matters so we can have that clarity on our reserve position going forward. So Councillor Harris, do you want to come in?
Yeah, can I just ask what are IT hosted applications? Is it printer costs?
Where are you, sorry?
So I'm on...
Oh, IT hosted applications, is that the £5,000, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to say, basically I'll say yes to that. Yeah. And as I say, we're under contract for those things and we do anticipate some increase over the year. Okay. So, through you, Chair, happy to hear from councillors either questions or points people want to make in terms of any other, whether either the amendments that were in the report, which is section 6 of the report, or any other further amendments they wish to see to this budget before we consider it. Really interesting. Councillor Turner.
Yeah, I just want to raise about the mayor's allowance actually. If we're going to continue having a mayor, I think £500 makes the position restrictive for people who possibly don't have that disposable income to represent the town in the way one would expect it, even just in the manner of accessing, events and things. What we're effectively saying there is if you haven't got any spare cash, you're never going to be mayor of the town. So if we're going to retain the position, I don't think £500 covers enough. If it's not used, then it gets carried over, doesn't it? But I do believe Kate's that position a
So,
bit.
£1,000, £1,500, do we have a sense of how much it is today?
At least £1,500.
That might be reasonable.
I think we should refer back to the 2000 then, Chair, because if it isn't spent, as I say, it will carry over, won't it?
Okay, so that will increase by £1,500, okay, that's fine. Okay, we'll say all the amendments will capture and then we'll vote on the amendment. Any other amendments you want to propose to this question?
Not an amendment, Chair.
Or comments, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not restricting you.
There's a significant increase in the tax base,
Yes.
which you've been good enough to show for us in
Yes.
detail.
Yes.
I find that quite concerning, frankly.
Okay.
But what confidence do you have that North Yorkshire Council have done the job properly, shall we say?
That's a great question.
I don't think for future use. I think it might help council if we had some comment from you regarding that quite dramatic increase.
I mean, the changes really through the second homes funds coming through the system now. I mean, I guess that every parish and town council is in the same position related to precept nationally, where they are not the tax setting authority, and so they have to use the information they get from whichever the responsible authority is. In our case, it's North Yorkshire Council. The relevant officer at North Yorkshire Council is the provider of this information. They are the person who is putting together the stuff that Councillor Sonic was talking about in terms of when North Yorkshire set their own budget. So these are part of the budget calculations the North Yorkshire Council have carried out, and then they have to send it to us so we know how, so we can set our precepts, understanding the tax base, but we have no influence, say, or otherwise, on how the tax base figure is calculated, because the legal responsibility for that lies with the North Yorkshire Council. But that we're the same as every single parish and town council in the country is in that position.
Well, let's just hope they've taken everything into account.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Under Christmas Festival at the end,
Yes.
so events will run as a break-even event and can make some savings on the 2024 event. I think you mean 2025.
I'm sorry, Councillor Aaron. Show where you are.
So it's on the Christmas Festival.
Is this income or
So
expenditure?
it's on expenditure.
Expenditure?
No, it's,
Yes.
it's on expenditure. Event will be run.
Oh yes, well, and you're quite right about this 2025. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you for making sure. Yeah, I don't want to confuse anybody there. As I say, and but as we covered actually in one of the previous meetings, and Councillor Pitts alluded to actually, the budget for the festival has been set at a break-even position. So we may find that the income and expenditure figures are slightly different in reality, but we'll be working to a break-even brief. So in this budget, the income and expenditure is the same.
Yes, I just wanted to put on record the increase in the monies that were going back from the precept appears to me to be largely coming from second homeowners being charged more. And my personal opinion is that I think that this is a gift that we've been given. It isn't a gift. For a long time, which was one of the very large runs of a lot of problems that are caused by so many second homes in the area, not least across the housing to the locals and people in the town. That excess money that's now coming back to us, I think it's our duty to actually do something with that money, to actually say to the public, yes, we've got this money and we're using it to do this. At the moment, all we're doing is using that money to dig ourselves out of a hole that we put ourselves in. I don't feel that that's right. I feel we should be doing something for the town people with the money. that is coming back that is their due. I just put that on my card.
I mean, I completely take the point that's been made. I mean, I hope since I came on the 1st of October, I've done my best to explain things as clearly as I can. And maybe I should have said more to introduce the report this evening as well, to be fair. But to be clear, I consider this to be a one-off project. Yeah, we are in a position. Our audit advises our level of reserves is unacceptably low, so we have to increase it, pretty much. I know you could choose not to, but you know what I mean. But in terms of being a prudent authority and ensuring sustainability, reserves have to go up. So that creates the issue that the funds for that have to be found. Now, the second homes funding is not a one-off windfall. It will continue through future years. So council will be in a position in future years, should it wish to consider what else it might want to do. But as I say, within the financial constraints that we have, this budget sets out how to achieve an essential increase in reserves and enable the council maybe to move forward to other things. That's how it's been played.
Can I just bring something to you? The second home tax.
Yes.
Yeah, it's coming in April. It hasn't come in yet. It's coming in April.
Yes.
It's going to work against us, in my opinion. The reason being that a lot of the people that have a second home and now when they rent out for 15 weeks and not paying the rates at all. The people of Whitby should know what's going on. And if you have a B&B or something like that, you won't pay any rates. You might pay a bit in the bin. That's where the money goes down. If you own a business in Whitby, you shouldn't pay rates. The people are renting a house out 15 weeks a year, and it's considered a business. And loads of people, and I'm not one of them, that have a second home, are doing this. And so now from not paying, from paying one rates completely, they're going to pay no rates. That's the anomaly with me. And why should people who rent a house out 15 weeks a year, and a lot of money for it, and don't pay any rates? Everybody in Whitby that lives here owns a place should pay rates. Just having to get double rates is backfired. They've flattened the house prices, and where they try to sell the houses, they've dropped 30%. Talking to the estate agents, that's not me. You know, it's a stupid thing what they're doing. I know it works in some ways, but what think it's going to be the appropriate things everywhere? It's not. There'll be a lot less money coming in because of it. So don't spend what you haven't got. Have a look at the facts first.
Well, so you try out the houses.
Difficulties are going on from that. I was reading about Bamberg Council, and they actually write to all the people with holiday lets in the area, asking if they would contribute towards the precept, and they do get money.
Okay.
And that could be a potential way forward in the future, because the precept, as you quite rightly say, is for the people of Whitby, and at the moment we're not giving much back at all to the people of Whitby, maybe a few Christmas lights and a lot of lights, but not much else.
Okay. Well, we can look into that for sure. Councillor Rivers.
There doesn't seem to be anything in here to money to improve this room, and I suggest that it should be in the budget because this room is still far from ideal, and I'm not going to bring in the usual thing about what's been discussed previously, but it will have to be discussed again sooner or later. But you know, everyone. I still miss a lot of what's been said in here, and it's not really ideal for a lot of people, and people in the audience, ratepayers. They keep complaining that they can't hear, even though they don't say it for meeting. So I think we should be a sum carry on looking at placing the room if we are going to continue using it.
Okay, so that sounds like an amendment. Would someone like to second it?
No, sir.
Okay, so in the paper you submitted, it was a £10,000 cost or provision for this. Is that the figure you'd like to know?
If we were going to be serious about doing anything with this room, yes, I think we would need that sort of money.
Okay.
see, we've got the public there that are stood. And certain members of this council, John's the same as me, we are partially deaf. But when the other councils are talking, trying to catch up what's being said, it's not there.
Okay, so we'll wrap that up when we get to the end of this discussion, maybe a bit now, I don't know. Through you, Chair, we'll take votes on the amendments that have been proposed, and then we'll have a final preset amendment. Councillor Brown?
Can I suggest this? After a year when we haven't spent money on elections or audits, that we could look at spending £10,000 to improve this room, but how many people in Whitby actually would think, that's the one thing I want, is to have a better ability to hear once in a while, or whether they have things that they would like to see that improve their day-to-day living would perhaps be
It's helpful for councillors to make sure their views are heard during this discussion.
When this was first muted, I investigated Amazon and eBay and all those sorts of things. And there are sets of speakers that you can put round this hall, don't cost £10,000, that they use in churches, in cathedrals, in places where people gather together. There's no reason why we can't investigate doing that. You know, I mean, it's a lovely room here, and all it wants is decent sound system. No, it costs £10,000.
Would you be happy with that, Councillor Riddles, to put a couple of thousand in for that at this stage, or do you want to put 10,000 in?
Well, I believe there was there's meant to have been a report from when Ian Lawson actually came and looked at this, and he knows a lot about disabilities and stuff like that. But the report never seemed to materialise. So, is there a root cause? What are the root cause? And we really do need someone with knowledge of what's going on. You can say you can do this, that, and the other, but you need someone to actually tell you what you need. And I tell you the point, I think that could be, but I wouldn't want to spend money on that and then find out it's useful. You know.
Well, you can try them and send them back.
Well, possibly.
Okay, so should we put in, what, £2,500 to cover that work next year?
And the change, it will go back in the company, won't it?
Okay, so we'll probably make it £2,500 working of tender. Councillor Smith?
Can I just clarify? I believe job management committee, I think someone's £18,000
Yes.
put aside for. Was any of that money for improvements within this area?
Not relating to the points Councillor Riddles is making. Okay, are there any other questions or amendments to the budget? And then we'll clarify the amendments and take votes. Okay, so the first amendment was to increase the mayoral cost by £1,500. Councillor Ward, you're proposing that? Councillor Turner, I think you're seconding that? And can we have all those in favour of that increase, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, that's quite a lot of people. Anyone against that? Anyone abstaining on that? Okay, one abstention. Okay, so that increase is passed. And then £2,500 for costs to improve the facilities in this room, especially related to meetings. So Councillor Little, Councillor Abbott, proposed seconder. Have a vote. All those in favour of that, please. Okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it, 6 councillors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6 in favour. Okay, those against, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 9 against. Okay, so that one is not carried. Okay, so that means that the budget we're now voting on, that's been the next vote, we've increased by 1,500 from the figure that we had in the report. Okay? So I'm just going to see if the magic of technology will allow me to work this out for you now. Okay, so just bear with me. I'm hoping this works. Yeah, no, no, it's not one working. So I'm going up to 406,500.
Just type it in your spreadsheet and it comes out.
406. Yeah, that seemed to work. That would give a precept of £71.77, which is an increase of 9.59%. So the vote is for a precept of £406,500, which is £71.77 at band D, an increase of 9.59%. Would someone like to propose that budget? Councillor Bolton is proposing. Anyone seconding it? No one seconding it. Councillor Brown is seconding it. Okay, all those in favour of that budget, please. Please show. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favour. Okay, those against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so that's 9. Okay, so that's not carried. Alright, so how would councillors who voted against that budget like to proceed?
Could I just make a comment, Chair? I think that obviously when the first increase was brought forward, it was from yourself, Alan, that you proposed the, was it 31.6%. And obviously after councillors looked at it, we weren't happy at that, to bring it down again. But I still feel that 9.59% is quite a lot to ask the town, particularly when we listened to Councillor Swanwick earlier, where North Yorkshire Council are looking at quite a hefty increase in their precept as well.
Yes, okay.
And I am very, very aware that the reserves need to be built up.
Okay. So what are you proposing is done instead?
Well, I'm making a comment. I'm not proposing. I'm making a comment. I mean, the only thing I can see is that well, I don't know what you're going to look at.
So are you saying you'd like to reduce the increase in reserves? Is that what the view of the meeting is?
What's that?
It's in
Nothing's changed. I think this year, it's the only way to look at it. I would hope that we've got exceptional costs coming at us with the audit reports, the external audits. I would hope we're not going to be facing those, and we can look to move forward and see if we can increase reserves instead of money put aside. You know, 30,000 put aside for external auditors.
Some sort of increase in reserves is going to be essential because the council cannot really operate with the level of reserve that it has. It is simply too low for it as an organisation. I take the point you don't want to increase it by, as I say, effectively £67,000 in one go, which is the proposal here. So that's without turning too much into a negotiation, if you like. But is there a sense of what figure are we saying would be acceptable? Because as the person who down at the coal place operating on that level of reserves puts unacceptable strain upon the finances of the council. We really are in a position where, in the context of our turnover, £32,000 is virtually the same as nil in terms of the work that we do. And so some increase is necessary. Councillors saying that £69,000 is too big an increase. So we probably need to think about what increase we think is acceptable. Councillor Knott, would you like to comment?
I think we should note here that a £5,000 reduction in the precept reduces it by 1.35%, or 89p.
Yeah.
So you've got to be looking at some very significant sums to take out of the budget to make a huge difference to the percentage increase and in fact a cash increase in the precept. You've got to be very careful what you want to do. Personally, I think this this budget is actually quite cautious.
Yes.
And that I think there is the possibility that there will be some overruns in it. I think there is, however, a greater possibility that there will be additional savings to be made over and above those detailed within the document.
Thank you, that's very helpful. That means say I've deliberately been as prudent as possible. I think it might be helpful for councillors to look at section 3 of the report where I set out alternative increase figures versus the precept amount. So you said 406,500 is too much, which is an increase of about 9.5%. If you look at the table, let's say that was close to 405,000, shows a 9.18% increase. Looking at the table, you can see that if you were to reduce by, say, 15,000, that would take your precept increase down to 5.13%. If you were to reduce, and then so on from there, if you reduce it by 25,000, you get to 380,000, which is 2.44%. Is that the sort of figure that we feel of? Councillor, come in, not speak.
Just to maybe flip the question if I can to you, Sandra, we're saying that the 32,000 is unreasonably too low.
Yeah.
What would you consider to be sort of minimum reasonable amount to have that reserve set?
By the end of the life of the council, it needs to be between 30 to 50% of your turnover, or our turnover. Our turnover is roughly £500,000, give or take. Our expenditure is £500,000, give or take. So 30% of £500,000 is £150,000. So by the end of the council, that's the sort of figure you need to have as a minimum. And that's the norm in councils across the country, is that sort of level of figure. Obviously, we need to be mindful of our residents, and we can't achieve that figure in 1 year. But we can work together to see how to achieve it over time, because as I've explained a little bit, the reason for the advice to have these level of reserves is given for good reasons, if you like, and it really is a matter of financial sense to make sure you have necessary contingencies to cover things. And given the things we're responsible for, a lot of which are quite expensive to run or cost money to replace, we do need to make sure we have funds available to us. I completely sympathise that councillors feel that a precept that is a 9% is simply too high. Hear that loud and clear. So what I'm proposing through, to the meeting is basically the increase in reserves of 39,000, 27,000 is reduced by 15,000 or 25,000. What sort of figure should we reduce it by for you to feel comfortable at this point? Councillor Turner and Councillor Miller.
Thank you. I mean, if we reduce the reserves by 15,000, we're looking at a 5.13% increase in the precept. Yeah. Well, I'm going to propose that.
Can I just confirm that when you say reduce it, it is still going up, it's just not going up as
Yeah.
It's not going up as much. We're reducing the increase. Okay, so Councillor Howard, do you want to come in?
I was going to actually suggest rather than 5.13, 4.99%, so it matches North Yorkshire's.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
They're limited to that.
Let me see if I can get the magic
Best idea
to work.
Correct.
Okay, so you want a 5% increase, so that's going to be about
4.99. 4.99.
I hear you.
Don't confuse